Welcome to a place where stories aren't told in loud voices, but in whispers. Whispers only heard by those brave enough to listen. You are now entering the world of Bisakan Tampaswara, where every tale doesn't just send chills down your spine, it might just pull you into it. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't look behind you, because the scariest part isn't the story itself. It's when you realize you're not alone while hearing it.
A chilling urban legend from Bojonegoro, East Java. They say, in the haunted region of Alas Rowo, a faceless female ghost often appears exactly at 1 a.m. Many locals have experienced strange occurrences and supernatural disturbances in this eerie place. Are you brave enough to watch it alone? They say, every village has its own mystery. But if you live in Bojonegoro, especially near the forest borders, you've probably heard the name Alas Rowo. It's actually a small forest, not that wide. But ever since I was a child, that name always came up, especially during the quieter months, the ones people say blur the line between our world and theirs. Back when I was in elementary school, my grandmother often told stories about that place. She always gave warnings that sounded a bit exaggerated. Don't go home past midnight, especially not through Alas Rowo, especially not at 1 o'clock. I used to think she just wanted me to come home early, but as I got older, more and more things made me start to believe. Alas Rowo is on the edge of the village, a bit hidden. The road is narrow, only wide enough for one motorcycle, with tall bushes on either side. It looks normal during the day, but at night, even adults would rather take a longer route than go through it. One of the first incidents that made me think this place is really not right happened when I was in 9th grade. It was around 11:30. At night, when a neighbor of mine was coming home from his relative's house. He was riding alone, and the quickest way to his house was through the small path next to Alas Rowo. His name is Pakwarno. He doesn't believe in the supernatural. He's already old, so he just thought it was a regular ride. But that night, he came home pale. His body was shaking, like he'd just been chased by a rabid dog. He said that while passing the forest, he saw someone standing in the middle of the road, a woman with very long hair covering her face, dressed in a long white gown. At first, he thought she was lost, so he slowed down and asked softly, "Miss, are you looking for someone?" But the woman didn't answer. She just stood there, silently. And the most terrifying part was, she had no face. Her face was blank, smooth, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, just pale skin like a mask. Pakwarno immediately turned around, nearly falling from his panic. After that, he had a fever for 2 weeks. The doctor said there was nothing physically wrong. But every night, he screamed in his sleep, sometimes shouting, "She's standing at the door. She's watching me." After that incident, stories about the faceless woman started spreading even more. They say she often appears at 1 in the morning. And strangely, not everyone can see her. Only certain people. Maybe those who don't believe. Maybe those who pass by at the wrong time. My grandmother said that 1 in the morning is the thinnest time. The line between us and them blurs, and if you insist, you could become one of them. Over time, the story evolved. Some say the woman was once a village girl killed after being accused of bringing misfortune. Others say she was a human sacrifice during the construction of an old bridge. Whatever the version, the message is the same. Never go through Alas Rowo after 1 in the morning. Doesn't matter if you're on a motorcycle, in a car, or walking. Just avoid it. But nowadays, young people think it's just a myth. Including my friend Gunter. He loves a challenge. Never afraid. In fact, he often makes random horror content for his YouTube channel. If it's just a faceless girl, I'll challenge her to take a selfie with me, he said one night when we were hanging out at a village coffee stall. Me, Raka, and Putri all looked over. The place was quiet. It was already past 11 p.m. The owner, Bulastri, even called out from inside. "Don't joke like that, kid. That place isn't for playing." But Gunter just laughed. "Ah, just a myth, ma'am. I want to prove it. Let people know it's just a story to scare kids." We all went silent. Didn't know whether to argue or just let it go. Because once Gunter is like that, he can't be stopped. And sure enough, he started planning to go into Alas Rowo at 1 in the morning. That night, I had a bad feeling. But because of curiosity and young pride, I joined too. Not going in, just to accompany Gunter to the forest's edge. 3 days later, it all began. It was a Friday Kliwon night. The sky was cloudy, no stars. But not raining either. Dead quiet. The wind was strange, cold but whispering in your ears. The 4 of us arrived at the edge of Alas Rowo around 12:30 a.m. Gunter brought a flashlight, a camera, and his phone. He said he wanted to record a video of him walking in alone for 15 minutes. If nothing happened, he'd come back. "I'm going in now. I'll be back at 1. If I'm not back, come find me," he joked. We could only glance at each other. Putri even tried to stop him, but it was too late. Gunter walked into the narrow path, and his shadow slowly vanished into the darkness. At first, everything was normal. We sat by the motorbikes, monitoring the feed from his camera through the phone. But 5 minutes after he entered, the signal dropped. The screen went black. The sound from the mic faded. Just the rustling of leaves and wind. Then, silence. Right at that moment, I felt chills from head to toe. Putri grew anxious. Raka tried calling Gunter, but there was no connection. And out of nowhere, we all heard a sound. He-he-he'd. A small laugh. Soft, but very clear. We looked at each other. That sound wasn't from the speaker. Not from the phone. It came from the forest. From where Gunter had gone in. The time showed 1:03 a.m. And from that moment on, we realized this wasn't just a story. It was real. And maybe we had just crossed a line that should never be touched. I still remember that night, clearly. A dark night, strange air, and a soft laugh from inside the forest that made every hair on my body stand up. The clock on my phone showed 1:03 a.m. Gunter had not returned. The camera he brought had no signal. And the sound from his recorder suddenly went silent. The 3 of Usme, Raka, and Putri were confused about what to do. Waiting longer just made us more panicked. But going in after him was not an option either. The path was getting darker, even though Gunter had a flashlight. But from the outside, we could not see any light at all. Putri started panicking. She paced back and forth saying, "What if something happened to Gunter? Why did we let him go in alone?" Raka tried to calm her down though. I could tell from his body language, he was also scared to death. Let's wait 5 more minutes. If he's still not back, we'll ask the villagers for help. Let's not be reckless. I stayed quiet. In my head, the image of Gunter alone in that forest kept replaying. Gunter might be reckless, but he was not stupid. He knew his limits. But this time, everything felt wrong. And what bothered me most was that laugh. It was not a normal sound. It felt like it pierced my ears. Like it was not a human voice. At 1:10, Gunter was still not back. Finally, we decided to return to the village and ask for help. The stall we were hanging out at earlier had closed. But the lights at Bu Lastri's house were still on. We knocked on her door repeatedly until she came out. When she heard that Gunter had not returned from Alas Rowo, her expression immediately changed. Serious. Tense. "Kids, are you crazy, going there at this hour?" I quickly said, "I just accompanied him, ma'am." Gunter insisted on going in alone. He just wanted to prove it was all a myth. Bu Lastri immediately called her husband, Pakjet Miko, who was also the village head. Soon, several villagers gathered. We all went to the edge of Alas Rowo, and this time, the villagers' flashlights lit up the narrow path. But still, the atmosphere felt heavy. The air got colder, and the wind that was calm earlier suddenly blew hard. Pakjet Miko called out from the edge of the forest. "Gunter, Gunter, where are you, son?" But there was no response. Silence. Suddenly, one of the villagers, Pak Tony, pointed to the bushes. "That's a flashlight. I think that's his flashlight." And sure enough, from behind the bushes, a flickering light appeared. Then, a shadowy figure emerged. Gunter, he came out of the forest slowly, like someone dazed. His eyes were empty. He dragged his feet. His clothes were dirty, full of soil and leaves. Everyone rushed over. I was the first to run. "Gunter, what happened to you?" But he didn't answer. He just stopped, then slowly lifted his head. His eyes looked at me, but it was like he wasn't really seeing. I saw her, and now she has seen me too. The words were so soft, almost a whisper, but clear. And as soon as he finished speaking, he collapsed. The villagers carried him back home. That night was one we would never forget. Gunter was laid in his room. His mother kept crying because she said Gunter had never been this weak since he was a child. The village doctor came to check him but said everything was normal. No wounds, no signs of trauma. But his body was cold. Too cold. Like he had just come out of a freezer. When I looked from a distance, I could see his hands trembling, even though he was unconscious. And the strangest thing was on the left side of his neck. There was a long red mark, like a scratch, but it wasn't bleeding. It was more like a burn mark, but oddly cold. I don't know. It's hard to explain. The next day, Gunter was still not awake. But around 3 in the afternoon, he suddenly screamed from his room. Putri and I immediately ran in. He was sitting on the bed, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. His eyes were red, his breath heavy. "She followed me. She was standing next to my bed last night," he said while glancing at the corner of the room. We all instinctively looked in that direction. But there was nothing. Just a wall and a small table. "Who followed you?" Tora asked Putri softly. He was silent for a moment, then replied the woman. "But now I know why she had no face. Her face was gone, taken. And now she wants a new face." Silence. The atmosphere in the room turned tense. I got goosebumps instantly. "A new face?" I asked softly. Gunter nodded. "Yes, anyone who dares to look at her, our faces." After that, Gunter grew even stranger. He rarely spoke. At night, he sat by the window, lost in thought. Sometimes, his mother said, he would laugh quietly by himself. Sometimes he would scream, asking for all the mirrors in his room to be covered. One night, I got a call from his mother, because Gunter had tried to smash his mirror. His reason was, "She's in that mirror. She's copying my face." The three of us, me, Raka, and Putra, finally decided to dig deeper. This was no longer about testing courage or silly horror content. This was serious. Gunter had changed. And it all started from that forest, from that hour, from Alas Rowo. Raka remembered someone who might be able to help. His name was Mbah Joyo, an old man who lived at the edge of the village. They said he had understood these things since long ago. Mbah Joyo was known to be able to see things that others couldn't. He wasn't a shaman or paranormal, but people respected him greatly. That same night, the three of us went to his house. We told him everything from the beginning about Gunter's challenge, the laughter, the apparition, and his current condition. Mbah Joyo just listened while stroking his long white beard. His face was calm, but from his eyes I could see he fully understood what was happening. If it has seen you, it won't let go easily. We all looked at each other. Seen how Mbah Gunter has already seen that being. But more importantly, that being has already seen Gunter. I got goosebumps again. Those words sounded like a curse. "Then can he be saved?" Mbah asked Putri, almost crying. Mbah Joyo nodded slowly. "Yes. But you all must be ready. Because this is not just about one person. That being needs a replacement. And if it is not given one, it will keep taking one by one." The three of us fell silent. And in that moment, I knew this was only the beginning of something much darker. The night after we spoke with Mbah Joyo, none of us could sleep well. My thoughts were still stuck on his last words, that being needs a replacement, and if it is not given one, it will keep taking one by one. What did that mean? Who would be taken? Next, why Gunter? The more I thought about it, the more everything felt like a trap we had unknowingly walked into. The next day, Gunter was still behaving strangely. He kept sitting by the window staring blankly outside. His mother said he didn't eat much, and every night he mumbled things in his sleep, sometimes crying, sometimes just whispering something no one understood. We agreed to meet again at Putri's house that evening. Raka brought an old notebook he had borrowed from the village library. It was full of old legends and folk tales from Bojonegoro. Maybe we could find a clue there about this faceless woman. We sat in the back room, with the door closed. The atmosphere was tense. Flipping through those dusty pages felt like opening memories no one wanted to remember. And then we found something. A story written in Javanese. Putri helped translate. It told of a girl who lived near a forest long ago. She was beautiful, but envied by many. One day during a long drought, a ritual was held to ask for rain, and she was chosen as the offering. Her face was covered, her name was erased, and she was left in the forest. The story said that she lost not just her life, but her identity. She wandered forever, faceless, forgotten, cursed to find a new face. The description matched everything that had happened. A woman without a face appears at 1 in the morning in a forest at the edge of a village. We all looked at each other. This was not just a coincidence. This had to be her. I felt a chill down my spine. What if Gunter was not the first? What if this had happened before, but people just didn't talk about it? That night we returned to Mba Joyo's house to tell him what we found. He listened quietly, then nodded slowly. I've heard that story, he said, though it's been a long time since anyone dared to speak of it. Then, what should we do, I asked. Is there a way to stop it? Mba Joyo stared at the small oil lamp on the table for a long time before answering. If you want to break the bond, Gunter must return something to her. Something that proves he belongs to the living. An offering not of fear, but of identity. Something personal. I didn't fully understand. What do you mean, an offering? Mba Joyo continued. A face is memory. A soul is memory. She wants to replace what was taken from her. But if you give her something real, something full of meaning, she may let go. What kind of thing? Putri asked softly. A mirror, said Mba Joyo. But not just any mirror. One that has captured your image, your story. Something Gunter treasures. Give it to her at the place and time she saw him. 1 in the morning. At Alas Rowo. We all went silent. The idea of going back to that place again was terrifying. But we knew this wouldn't end unless we did something. Gunter's life, his soul was at stake. So we made a plan. Tomorrow night we would go back to Alas Rowo. Gunter would carry his old mirror, the one he always used when filming his videos. It was scratched on the edges, worn and old, but he had owned it since childhood. It had his face, his memories. If what Mba Joyo said was true, then maybe this was our only chance. That night, I stayed up staring at the ceiling. The wind outside was howling, and I couldn't shake the image of the faceless woman from my mind. Her pale skin, her long hair, the empty void where a face should be. What did she want? What would she do if this offering failed? I didn't know, and I was afraid to find out. The night we returned to Alas Rowo was colder than usual. The air felt heavy, like it was warning us to turn back. But we didn't. We couldn't. Gunter held the mirror tightly in both hands, his face pale, his eyes tired but focused. Behind him were me, Raka and Putri, each carrying a flashlight and a bundle of incense, just like Mba Joyo had instructed. We left the motorbikes near Bulastri's stall, which was already closed and dark. From there, we walked in silence toward the edge of the forest. It was 12:45 a.m. 15 minutes left. The trees loomed above us, casting twisted shadows that danced with every gust of wind. The path into the forest seemed even narrower than before. My heart pounded harder with every step. When we reached the same spot where Gunter had entered before, we stopped. The same bushes, the same silence. This is it, he said. We made a circle, lit the incense, and placed the mirror in the middle on top of a folded cloth. Gunter sat cross-legged. In front of it, Raka and Putri stood behind him. I stayed to the side, holding the flashlight, shaking slightly. Then the wind stopped. The air became completely still. Not a single leaf moved. The incense smoke rose straight into the sky, like a line connecting earth and something above. Then came the sound, leaves crunching. A faint breath, the exact same laugh we heard before, soft, high and chilling. He, Gunter, closed his eyes, breathing slowly. I could see his shoulders tense. I looked around. Nothing, just darkness. But I could feel it. She was there, watching, waiting. The mirror trembled slightly on its own. The incense flames flickered. And then from the shadows at the edge of the trees, she stepped out. The faceless woman. Long black hair covering the sides of her head, a long white dress stained with dirt and time. Her skin pale, almost glowing, but her face was still a blank void. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. She walked slowly, not touching the ground. Her feet hovered inches above the soil. She stopped right in front of the mirror. The smoke curled around her as if afraid to touch her. Gunter opened his eyes and whispered, "Please, let me go. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have mocked you. This is yours." He placed both hands on the ground beside the mirror, lowering his head. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the woman bent forward, slowly reaching toward the mirror. Her fingers touched the surface. The mirror cracked once, then twice, then shattered. But no sound came out. Only light. A faint white glow burst from the shards. The wind returned suddenly, swirling around us. The incense flames were blown out. I heard Putri scream. I turned. She wasn't screaming at the woman. She was screaming at Guntur. His body was floating inches above the ground, eyes wide, mouth open like gasping for air. Then just as suddenly, he dropped. The faceless woman vanished. Gone. No trace, no sound. Only the smell of burnt incense and the broken pieces of mirror glowing faintly in the grass. Gunter lay still. We rushed over. His eyes blinked. He coughed. He looked around. "It's quiet," he said. "Her voice is gone. She's not in my head anymore." We helped him up and walked him out of the forest, slowly. The moment we reached the road, the wind stopped again. The sky began to brighten slightly. Dawn was coming. That night we didn't speak much. We brought Gunter back to his house. His mother cried when she saw him awake and conscious. For the first time in days, he smiled. Not a big smile, just a small one. But it was real. The next morning, Bajoyo came to check on him. He nodded with relief. "It worked," he said. "She took what she was offered. Her story ends here. But be careful. Stories like hers never truly disappear. They sleep. And if disturbed again, they wake." I couldn't help but feel uneasy. What if someone else tried to challenge her someday? What if another person walked into that forest at 1 in the morning? For now, she's gone. But what waits in the shadows may not be her. Something worse could be watching. A week passed since the night in Alas Rowo. Gunter slowly returned to his old self. He began to eat again, talked to people, and even joked a little, though the spark in his eyes had not fully returned. We didn't talk much about what happened. It was as if saying it out loud might bring her back. But in the quiet moments, the fear still lingered. Every time the clock hit 1 in the morning, my chest would tighten. One night, Gunter asked to meet us at the warring near the village field, the same place where this had all started. He looked calmer, but his eyes held something different, a deeper awareness, like someone who had seen something he could never forget. "Thanks for helping me," he said, while stirring his coffee. "I don't think I'd be here if you hadn't believed me." Putri nodded quietly. Raka stayed silent, staring at the dark sky above. Then Gunter leaned forward and whispered something that made my blood run cold. "I saw something else in that forest, not just her." We all looked at him. "What do you mean?" Putri asked. He took a deep breath. "When the mirror broke and she disappeared, I saw behind her, just for a second, there was something else in the woods. A shape, a shadow. It wasn't her. Bigger, watching. It didn't move, but I swear it noticed me. Silence fell over the table. Even the wind seemed to pause. I think she wasn't alone. I think there's something deeper in that forest. Something older. That place feels like a door. And we opened it. My mouth felt dry. I remembered what MBA Joyo said. Stories like hers never truly disappear. They sleep. I asked, "Did you tell MBA Joyo?" Gunter nodded. He just said, "Be careful what you look for in the dark. Sometimes it looks back." That night we all walked home with our flashlights on full brightness, even though the path was familiar. Every sound made us jump, every gust of wind felt like a whisper. I couldn't stop thinking about what Gunter saw. If he was right, then the faceless woman was only the beginning. A warning. But of what? The next morning, I visited MBA Joyo by myself. His front porch smelled of incense and old wood. He welcomed me with a nod and poured tea without saying anything. I asked him about what Gunter saw. He looked at me with calm, tired eyes. "The forest is old," he said, "older than this village, older." Then the name, Alas Rowo. Names change. But something has always been there. "What is it?" I asked. He looked into the distance. A watcher. A listener. In Javanese, we call it Sing Nyawang Sing Nearing. The one who sees, the one who hears. It doesn't interfere, unless provoked. The woman you saw was only one of many who were claimed by that place. Some return, others remain. I shivered. "So what do we do?" "Nothing," he replied softly, "just respect the silence. Respect the rules. Never go alone. Never go after midnight. Never answer if someone calls your name from the dark." My heart beat faster. Has anyone else broken those rules? He didn't answer, just sipped his tea. But his silence said enough. As I left his house, I glanced toward the edge of the village where the trees of Alas Rowo began again, still quiet, waiting.